All right, so we will get started here. We've got some cool information on the agenda today. And just a reminder for everyone, as we've been doing this kind of the last several months. So those of you that have joined us in the past, thanks. You're used to this. Anyone that's joined us new today, thank you for joining in. There's going to be some time for question and comments and feedback, and to be able to kind of let us know what you're thinking about any of the topics that we're presenting today. Some time at the end to bring up some announcements or ideas for the board moving forward. Uh, if you come up with a question during the presentation, feel free to use the chat box as well. I'll kind of keep an eye on that to see if questions or comments come in there and we can address them. But we'll get started with Ken's presentation, reviewing the results of Eastgate's 2020 TMA certification review. Feel free to take it away, Ken.
Okay, great. Thanks, Justin. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to just thank everyone that joined in today. I'm here just to do a quick overview of our certification from Federal Highway and FTA, but really want to just thank the CAB, our Citizens Advisory Board, for participating over the many years. It came up in our certification. It comes up all the time. How do we disseminate this information? How do we go about informing the public? And, our Citizen Advisory Board being very active plays an important role. And Federal Highway and FTA through this review process agreed with that. So just let me jump in here and just kind of give you a little brief overview of what the actual certification review is. So every 4 years, the MPOs around the state, or actually around the United States, but within Ohio, Eastgate in particular, go through the certify from Federal Highway and FTA that we're meeting all of the standards and all of the mandates that they require to keep us eligible to continue to receive federal funds in Mahoning and Trumbull County. It's conducted jointly, both from FTA and FHWA, and it's a process that's I wouldn't say it's a lengthy process, but there is a tremendous effort put into this every 4 years. And again, I would thank our staff, Eastgate staff, for being able to do what they do and make this as seamless as possible. So next slide, Justin. So basically, when we do this, what are they looking for? So what they really come in to look for is they review and focus on compliance and federal regulations. So every time you hear that a transportation bill is passed, right now we're currently working on what Congress has passed as the FAST Act. It has a bunch of those federal regulations that we must comply to, and you'll a lot of the staff and a lot of the presentations we give, you'll hear those performance measures, or the transportation improvement program, or the TDP, which is the transit development program. Those all come out of the federal regs that say, okay, in order for you to receive this money, these are the kind of the things that you have to do. Again, they also look at how we interact with the state and our public transportation operators, WRTA, along with the Trumbull County Transit Board. And how do we go about and conduct our whole metropolitan transportation planning process? Next slide, Justin. So, I might have missed one there, but there they go. So what does the review of the certification consist of? So initially back in June, we were sent a list of 3 or 4 pages of to provide documents to Federal Highway and FTA, and we took quite some time. This that we've devoted actually a page onto our website. It's still available. And if you really want to jump into what we do and how we do it, it's there. It has just a tremendous amount of information um, about how we do our day-to-day business. So that is the first step in that. That's the desk review. Once that's completed, Federal Highway and FTA set up a site visit. And in this case, with a pandemic, we had it virtually. So we spent 2 days. We spent a full day and then a half a day just reviewing all of the information. After that, Federal Highway goes back, FTA go back, and they prepare the certification review report. And the report, again, is usually about 60 days following that site visit, and it summarizes the process and findings of the review, as well as the process itself. And then what could be an outcome there would be, the certified subject to corrective actions, a certification, certain construction funding categories. So once all of the information is gathered, the meetings are held, and all the questions are asked and answered, the outcome is given. What I'd like to say for us, again, as you see on there's basically three things that can come out of this review: corrective actions. And that's really not what we're looking for. That's kind of, you're not doing something right, or you need to correct these findings soon. Recommendations are just their way of trying to improve what we're doing, not necessarily saying we're doing anything not correctly, but maybe we can do some stuff better. And then, of course, commendations, stuff that we are doing above and beyond what we typically need to. So the next slide, Justin. So who's involved in this? The federal review team consisted of Carmen Stedman. She's our Federal Highway Ohio Division leader. So she's really responsible for making sure that, in this case, Eastgate does what it's supposed to be doing. And if there's any concerns or issues, we go right to her and have them cleared up. Mark Kane is our FTA Region 5. They are out of Chicago, and that's our transit connection or contact. Then you see Stuart McKenzie, who works under Mark, Rachel Smith and Andy Johns, who work under Carmen. And then since we are a bi-state urbanized area, because we do include Mercer County in there, we had Jennifer Crowback from FHWA PA division. You see the schedule there. That's what I kind of went over a little bit. June, our site visit was in August, and then October 14th, we had our certification letter presented. And then at this past General Policy Board, if you participated in that, Carmen presented the findings to our General Policy Board. Next slide, Justin. Yep. So what was the outcome? So on October 24th, FHWA FTA find Eastgate to be compliant with all applicable federal transportation planning requirements, and therefore jointly certified a transportation planning process in the Youngstown, Ohio transportation management area. One thing that I point out there were no corrective actions as a result of this review. So, if you want to put it on a grading scale, we pretty much aced this one. They were very impressed with the staff, what we do with the amount of staff we have. We're really only about 6 really that work on a full-time transportation side. So very, very happy that there was no corrective actions as a result of the review. And also we're certified for another 4 years. Next slide, Justin. There were a couple of recommendations that Federal Highway and FTA again recommended in the certification, but one was with public involvement program, and I'm not gonna go through all those, but we can have those available if anyone's really interested. But as I mentioned, we do a work program every year, and probably one of these items in the work program coming up will be, we will address these bullet points that you see on that screen. Next one, Justin. So recommendation 2, again, this is Title VI. We are in full compliance with Title VI, but again, these recommendations here you see are just to improve upon it. And similar to our public involvement process, we'll be looking at working on this and improving it as we move forward in our next work program. Next slide, Justin. Some commendations. You see a couple there. We had that multimodal network connectivity analysis study. If you recall, for those of you that have been on the CAB for a while, Bethany Chris, who was with us for a while, kind of initiated that. She moved on, and Justin from our staff stepped in and took that to completion. And, we were commended for that action. Again, that's something above and beyond what we typically need to do to satisfy Federal Highways requirements. Next one, Justin. Again, another commendation was our efforts in our Smart 2 and our Build grant that we received. And particularly, it showed the cooperation and coordination amongst all levels of not only government, but public and private sector. Partnering with YSU, WRTA, Mercy Health, involving, the foundations and moving forward, and Eastgate as being sort of the catalyst behind that. They were very impressed as to us moving that project forward. And again, that one, that really, I'd like to, thank Justin and also Stephen Zubik. He's been really the one that we've tasked with continuing to make that project move forward. Something really new to Eastgate. That was something that we never really did before, but we jumped in with both feet on that one, and it's been very successful, as you could tell, with Fifth Avenue being developed, and then the phase 2, which is the downtown streets, about to sell here, and you'll see construction barrels in early spring, moving that project forward. And then also the final, I guess, cherry on the top will be that autonomous shuttle once all of the construction is completed. Next slide, Justin. Another accommodation we had is, I always talk about, or you may have heard about, performance measures in general. Again, we have developed our own and taken that to the next level of funding performance measures for 2019. And that just kind of, we set goals as far as, we want to sell X amount of projects throughout the year, X amount of money being spent, and it's sort of just a checklist for us to make sure that, we're doing what we need to do. Next slide. So that's really all I would like to say. Thanks very much. Again, if you have any questions or want to sit down and really get into the nitty gritty of this entire document, I'd be more than happy to do that with you, either on the phone or in the office. So really, you could reach out to me, or you could reach out to Justin, and he'll forward along the information to me. So thanks for your time. And if there is any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
yeah, if anybody has any questions for Ken, uh, feel free. You can unmute yourself and ask, or if you think of something, you know, as we keep rolling on with the meeting, feel free to use the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that again, and we can address your comments as they come up. Um, so looking like there's nothing, we'll move on. We'll let Stephen take over and talk about some of the upcoming TIP programs.
Thanks, Justin. So as Eastgate, we are responsible for administering a little over $10 million a year through some federal funds. And we do this through three programs. We have a competitive selection project selection process for each of the three programs. And we've received a lot of questions recently about upcoming rounds and funds available. So felt it was a good time just to kind of update everyone, educate everyone on the timelines of these and kind of where we stand for the funds. This first one is our biggest one, our Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. This is the bulk of our money. And what we do here is mostly resurface roads. There's a federal aid system, which consists of mainly the main roads that are connecting highways and interstates. These are the only ones that are eligible for this program. We cover all phases from design to right of way through construction at 80% of the cost. If you want to go over to the next slide, I'll kind of show you guys where we are in the future. This past spring, we completed the Transportation Improvement Program, which is it shows a listing of all the projects in our two-county area that receive federal funding. So going through that in the spring, we filled out our program for the STBG program pretty much to the top. You see these four years are the next 4 fiscal years that we're in, currently being in fiscal year 21. And it may look a little crazy seeing, negative 1.5, 1.8, all these negative numbers. What we have to do as an agency and across the state is we have to overprogram and show a higher balance or a higher amount of projects than our budget. The reason for this is stuff happens, projects slip through, estimates are a little high. Usually estimates are a little conservative in the beginning. The last thing that anybody wants is at the last hour coming and scraping for money that nobody has. So estimates are typically conservative in the beginning. So when we get down to it, a $1 million project may sell for $700,000. That's $300,000 that's now not accounted for. So to make sure that we spend all our money, spend it wisely, kind of ties into what Ken just mentioned with our performance measures report. We kind of started that to account for this stuff, to show that we are spending this money wisely. We are not carrying over funds into the next year, and we're only allowed to carry over a certain amount of funds. So if we don't overprogram by these large amounts, there's a risk that we lose funds to other areas of the state. So in the future, we're looking at calendar year 2021 in the fall for our next round of STBG funding. Any locals, villages, townships, cities, county engineers, anyone with federal aid routes is eligible to apply. They'll start hearing about the application process in the spring, and we'll have applications due most likely in August. So if you want to jump to the next program, the next one is our Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program. This one is a little bit different. These are projects that are directly tied to congestion and therefore emissions reductions. You see that some of the projects that are eligible are roundabouts, signal upgrades, turn lane additions. This isn't everything that's eligible. Essentially what it comes down to is, can your project show that this is reducing delay on the roadway, getting someone from point A to point B with less delay, getting them there faster? Because of this, it is then going to show lower emissions into the air, which is where this funding came from. So that makes it eligible. You see on there, we get about $3 million per year. If you want to jump to the next slide, This is a statewide program, so it's kind of looked at as a whole 4-year program as compared to 1 year with the threat of carryover. So you see a little bit, we have some excess funds this year, but then, looking out into 23, we're showing 5.5 million in the negative. Just doing this across the whole 4 years, our agency is great. We're spending our funds wisely. We have 2 big projects that have been going on for what seems like forever. The bikeway, both in Trumbull County and Mahoning County. These are huge projects, $2-3 million jobs, and there's been a lot of hiccups along the way. Those designs are a little bit more thorough, a little more detailed, a lot of right-of-way acquisition required. So it's caused a little bit of delay in those projects. And as long as us as an agency and as the statewide committee, we're keeping this money spent and keeping it balanced throughout the whole program, then we're fine. So this program, we're also seeing applications in calendar year 2021. This one will come up first, a little bit sooner. I expect applications to start becoming available in January. So the locals will start hearing about it soon. And another one, it's a little bit different than that first program. These projects are eligible on any roadway. So the TAP program compared to the CMAQ, both of those are eligible anywhere, not just the federal aid routes. So this third one here, our Transportation Alternatives Program, this one is specifically related to bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Anywhere that you're seeing new sidewalks put in, safety lighting is another one that's popular for this program. This is what this program's for. The big difference here that we see is we don't fund any dollars for anything but the construction phase. So the locals are having to pay 100% of the costs to design these projects. If there's any right-of-way acquisition, that's again coming out of the locals' pocket. It's a smaller dollar amount. So this is a way that we administer this program to assure that we're able to do more projects and hit on more areas of our 2 counties. So if you want to jump to the next slide, this one we're showing a little bit of a balance in fiscal 21. And I mentioned earlier today at our TAC meeting, there's a good handful of projects in the next couple years that some locals have reached out about, hey, can I get this done sooner? Are there funds available sooner? Here in this instance and across all of our programs, we're always doing the best that we can to make everything fit, but those are always having those issues where stuff falls back. When that occurs, we're trying to do whatever we can to get someone's project done sooner. Even if we don't have funds available and someone reaches out, hey, can I get this done sooner? We reach out across the state, we try to shuffle some dollars around, do what we can to make projects happen. So seeing these balances here today, don't be alarmed that we have some extra money there. Don't be alarmed that we could possibly lose some funds. Not the case. And I'd expect in a month or 2 that this number up at the top for fiscal 21 will be negative again. So that's good. That's where we want to be. So this one, again, out in calendar year 2021, we'll start seeing some news about it and start seeing applications available in the summer, late spring. And we typically have applications there due in September, probably. With all 4 of our programs, not saying for sure now what years we'll accept funding. You kind of see here we're programmed pretty well for the next couple years. So it may not look great to a community who's trying to do something soon. They may be put off thinking, oh, well, I can't have funds for 4 years from now. I'm not going to waste my time applying. Strongly discourage that. That's not the case. Get your application in now. Get your project in line. And like I said before, anything that we can do to get funds earlier, we're certainly willing to help. And that's essentially my quick rundown for you guys on where our programs are. Sorry if I used acronyms or if it's tough for me to talk about the programs and not not get too specific and not get into too much detail. So if you guys have any questions, I'll stick around. I'll still be here. So thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Anybody have any questions, any thoughts? I see one in the chat box from Tom. Was it CMAQ money that put the new light at Route 11 and Tibbetswick Road? It's been up for a couple weeks, but not on.
Where was that at 11 in Tibbets?
Yeah.
No, that project wasn't done there. I'm thinking that was maybe a state-run project. That would be their signal with the on-ramps there. In a similar area, we did have the CMAQ project just close by, to use an example. The Tibbetswick and US 422, that signal upgrade in that right turn lane, just to give one example, that's something there that was done through the CMAQ program. And that was eligible because allowing those continuous right turns on red and aligning the lanes a little bit better, reduce congestion in that area. And something that we do as an agency is, and Ken may have mentioned it earlier as part of our work program, is we actually check to make sure that these projects are doing what we're supposed to be doing. We make sure that the funds are being spent wisely. So that Tibbetswick US 422 one that I mentioned, we did a study, and it's on Eastgate's website in our library. We do a handful of studies each year. We did a study where we tested the delay beforehand, and then once the project was complete, we tested the delay after to kind of compare those to see if there were improvements. And we did see improvements there on Tibbetswick, and so it just kind of shows that these CMAQ funds are being spent wisely. So that's a good tool that we have, and again, in our library under our transportation section. Thanks for the question.
Right. Not seeing anything else. We'll keep moving on. So a little update from our General Policy Board. We just had that, I believe, at the end of October. And I don't see Genevieve on the call. I believe she was in attendance as a rep from the Policy Board. We presented the Policy Board report, which is essentially just a summary of the meetings that happened since the last Policy Board meeting, an overview of who spoke, what topics were discussed, and then the result of the board decisions on all of the resolutions that came before them. The next meeting is going to take place at the end of January. If you wish to sit in on that meeting, or you have suggestions for information to be included in the CAB report, let me know. I can either get you the connection information to be able to attend that when that time comes, or we can make sure any comments you have that you think would be important to include in the CAB's report are included. Up next on the agenda is resolutions for passage, and there's no resolutions this month, so you get a month off. Any of you that are board members, nice and easy. And I only have one announcement for the board this month regarding board membership and positions for chair and policy board. Next month, the group is set to discuss that. So how I'm thinking of doing this is anybody that has submitted their membership application, and I checked just before the meeting started, it looks like we have 5 people that have submitted their membership application. So there's still another month to get those in. So if you're thinking about it, please do go to that portion of the site and find that application link, and let me know if you need help finding it. I can send it directly to you and submit your application. What we'll do at next month's meeting is I'll be sure to send a special invitation to the people that have sent their membership applications in to be able to have a couple minutes to introduce yourself to the board and kind of talk about why you're interested in CAB membership. And we'll kind of go from there. As far as positions of chair in general policy board representatives, there's a question in the application where you can notify if you're interested in any of those positions. So if you are, feel free to do that. And then I will send out this information of all the applicants and what positions they're interested in to the current board members following our December meeting so that they can approve this new slate of members for next year. And we could have people in those kind of positions for chair, vice chair, and then policy board reps from Mahoning and Trumbull County. Any questions on membership? Anybody thinking through that? What I can do to kind of clear up is those of you that have already submitted, I can send a quick email to you just to let you know that I've got it in, so that you don't have to worry about if it went through or not. So I can make sure to be clear on that. And if you know anybody that may be interested, feel free to send them the link and have them put their application in and join us next month as well. But that's all I've got for announcements. If anybody else has anything that they'd like to bring up, I see Tom put one in. Anything to report regarding the Mahoning River Corridor Revitalization Plan, results from the survey and mapping activity? I don't believe there are results from that yet. I do think they're still taking comments. So if you are interested, I can, again, I'll put this in the meeting kind of wrap up summary email that I'll send out, the link to the My Mahoning River website that has the mapping activity and the survey that they're conducting, so that if you still need to make some comments on that, you have that website and that information to do so. And then I'll talk with Joanne to see if, or when rather, some results should come from that, and we'll be sure to get them penciled in to make a presentation to the group. So thanks for that question. Let's see, Michael Harvey says, only requirement is you have to live in one of the 3 counties in the area, and that is correct. So we have flexed a little on that. I know at one point we had a member, I think it was last year, that lived outside of the counties but worked within. So the board had made the decision that that was okay, that there was still an interest there. So it's something that has flexed there. Gerald asked, do current members need to fill out a membership application? Yes, just kind of so we know who's interested in continuing. It's a really easy, it's a simplified process. If you were a member in the previous year, I believe it's only 4 questions. So it should be really quick to do, take you a couple minutes. But yes, great question. If you previously were a member, you would need to fill out the application again, just kind of as a formality. All right, lots of great questions. Thank you all. Anything else before we continue on? All right. Well, as always, if you have anything, after the meeting, feel free to send me an email. Let me know of your thoughts or questions, and I can help you figure those out. Kevin, as our current board chair, did you have anything that you'd like to say to the group before we wrap up?
No, right at the moment. I just hope we get back to normal here pretty soon so we start meeting in person.
Hey, Justin, it's Ben Kyle.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to give a little testimonial and thank Mr. Zubik for the work on the TAP. Just because the city of Hubbard, we recently received the TAP grant, and Mr. Zubik's work and expertise and knowledge has been very well received, and we're hopefully going to be able to move forward and get the project going. It's a sidewalk project. Hopefully everything will work out for 2021. So I just wanted to give a little testimonial on that and thank Mr. Zubik for that.
And Ben, if I may follow up a little bit on that, my executive director called a staff meeting today, and um, the the gist of what he was saying is we have to go out with our partners and start finding more projects, take advantage of some of this grant money that's out there, not just what flows through Eastgate, but other funding sources that our region just doesn't have enough projects that are eligible for these for the federal grant monies that are around here, and we're supposed to work a little bit more thoroughly with Congressman Ryan's office and with Congressman Johnson's office, and because that is our region, and just try to find more projects where we could receive some federal grant money. So, it's just, and again. That's it, Justin.
Justin, you were muted when you were trying to talk there. But I guess thanks for the kind words. And I will add that our program, our funds do fluctuate very, very minimally from year to year, depending on what we receive from ODOT. I haven't heard anything going into the future about a decrease in funding. So that our biggest hurdle always is our locals and providing that 20% local match. It almost seems like a perfect opportunity for any local to find some leveraging funds and really, I think the competitiveness of our programs is gonna be down for the next couple years. So I wouldn't be surprised, if there's an easier pathway to receiving some funding for our application rounds next year. So just something to carry on to the locals.
Thanks, Steve. This is Ben again. That's a really interesting concept because so many people are going to really tighten up and not want to explore some of these grant projects. So if you do have a little bit of wiggle room and a positive experience in the past, I'm sure that a lot of local communities, especially if they know that there could be some wiggle room, if you will, and some little extra in the budget, they'll definitely apply for it. So I'll make sure I keep that in mind, especially when talking to other local mayors and or township trustees and everything. So I appreciate that.
All right. Well, I think that's everything, everyone. Thank you all for joining us again. And we will see you in December. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Justin.